Hey there, I'm Mark from Spectrum Pulse, and today we finally have from NAHreally and The Expert BLIP. So this is a case of me going Bandcamp diving for underground artists who actually post their lyrics. Seriously, I got a list of about 4 or 5 rap albums I would have covered by now if the lyrics were readily available, and NAHreally caught my attention in a deceptively low-key way. He's a rapper out of New Jersey. He's been steadily releasing tapes for nearly 10 years now, many of them being really quick listens, and the best way I would describe him is pairing the low-key, easygoing charm of a Mac Miller with the accessible but wry observations of a Homeboy Sandman or LMNO. I wasn't always wowed, but the low-key grooves and the humor made going through his back catalog generally pretty enjoyable. So now teaming up with the Irish producer The Expert, and with guest features from Open Mike Eagle and Hemlock Ernst, with a slightly more expanded runtime on a full length, I wanted to give this a proper chance. And you know what? That was really worthwhile, because this was a really enjoyable listen that sticks to NAHreally's formula of deft, self-deprecating observations, but it feels more sonically and thematically focused this time. Now granted, in the latter case, I really appreciate how NAHreally approaches his rapping about rapping meta-commentary, mostly because it's less a showcase of his technical prowess in bars, and more thoughts about the mechanics of actually living it. A lot of the observations might feel like common sense or pretty easy at first, but they stack up well in aggregate, from the oversaturated media environment that can make it increasingly noisy and difficult and stressful to actually create, which he smartly observes on All at Once. In some form, it has always existed, it's just now closer to hand, to then the complicated social languages of performance on Rapper Hands and Read the Room, and then how it's all just commodified, branded, and critiqued, especially by folks who put a lot of effort into loudly exclaiming their expertise and intelligence, and thus reinforcing a hierarchy with them at the top. That many of them, it was distinctly funny and pointed, and I appreciate the light jab. And thus, I also really appreciate that NAHreally shifts the framing to feel so down to earth and deliberately small scale and likable, partially out of knowing his own limitations, exacerbated by getting older on breaking down in real time with a really hilarious assist from Open Mike Eagle, but also the messy reality of getting by within all those systems just like everyone else, where in the grand scheme of things, so much of this is just so small, a blip on the universe's radar, and that's true for everyone. It's coupled with a really great, understated, but forceful critique of those who would be intolerant or exclude or front. More a knowing glance of, come on, dude, be better. But also some solid introspection of how he has to work under a lot of those same conditions as everyone else, through canny self-awareness and staying grounded. And it creates this welcome freedom to go ahead and try new things, or savor the little victories, which along with the accessibility, the very trim runtime, and the impeccable vibes makes this a welcoming and an amazingly comfortable listen. For a record this direct and not overflowing with bangers, the replay value's been really high for me. And The Expert is a great producer for facilitating a lot of that vibe. The spare melodic guitar loops and hazy samples balancing out some tasteful old school drums. They got some airy texture but never feels that grimy or heavy. And while the mastering can be a little overly metallic and flat in moments, it's damn near consistent to a fault. That's also probably my biggest critique of this album, because while the sound palette behind it is plenty enjoyable and it's extremely well sequenced, I'm not sure that there's a sample flip or a melody or a groove here that would really stick out among a lot of producers in this underground lane. If you are so easygoing that you wind up fading into the background or the songs run together, I'm not sure that's always an asset, especially when NAHreally's songs can run a little on the shorter side. Now yes, there are a couple exceptions. The opening cut These Days has some real cinematic swell. I like the warped keys on Read the Room, and some of the slick bass line of bubble rap, that really went off for me. And the soft focus, movement, and light with Hemlock Ernst, with a really earnest performance and vocals there, with the woodwind flutters all over the closer Little Winds. This is also really damn pretty. But overall, this is an album that's gonna fly under the radar for a lot of folks, and that's not surprising. It's low-key, I wouldn't say it reinvents any wheels in this brand of underground rap, and the sound is certainly familiar, but that being said, it's well done in that lane. Not Really and The Expert caught a little bit of magic here, where the magnetism is subtle but unmistakable. It's accessible, legit funny, occasionally feeling very real with its insight, and more than a few times touches some legit greatness. It's a smart album that's not flashy about being smart, and thus all the wiser for it. In other words, this should be bigger than just a blip on your radar. Check it out. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching. If you want to see more, please be sure to like, share, drop comments, and subscribe. I'm guessing a whole lot of you have not heard this album, which will kind of suck because I'm late to it as well, I'll admit that. But again, if you guys want to actually give it a shot, actually check out the album, say what you think, I'm definitely curious where y'all fall on it, because I do think this is kind of special. I've sat with it for a couple of weeks now, and it's really stuck. Beyond that, though, anything else I might be able to do to improve my presentation, I'm all ears. And if y'all want to get involved in helping support the channel, get albums like this on my schedule so I'm not waiting so long, or hell, just find a way to yell at me on my Discord, link to my Patreon is right over there. Don't feel obligated, the option's available. Till then, I'm Mark, you're watching Spectrum Pulse, and I'll see you next time.